Alright, let's get going on the final part of the clock here. That's going to involve this speaker and this capacitor and these header pins and some other stuff. So let's start with, let's see, what does it want me to do? I guess we'll start with the programming header, which I think will go this way. I don't think I'll ever need to use the programming header, but I may as well solder it into place just because. Alright, so there we go. Let's make sure that that's nice and straight. I can actually use, I think, my, oh no, I can't, because that's for microchip stuff, and this is an Atmel. But who knows? There might be a way to use the microchip pick programmer. There might be a hack for it. But either way, I can do ICSP, in-circuit serial protocol, I believe is what ICSP stands for, to reprogram or update the firmware on the Atmel chip, which I really hope they programmed before they mailed it to me. Actually, I had that happen on a project that never got uploaded to the channel. The brain chip, the Atmel, hadn't been programmed. It was a blank slate, so there was no brains for it. It wouldn't run. Alright, so the next thing we'll do, I think, is going to be this little filter cap. This is probably actually it's probably a decoupling capacitor for the power supply, so we'll just drop that in there, flip it around, and solder one leg. And then solder the other leg. Maybe. That's going to be on the ground plane, so that may be a little challenging to get the solder in. There we go. Then we'll trim that, and I guess we'll do the speaker next. There's the little sticker here. It's got the plus for the positive lead on the speaker, so we'll follow that. And I'm recording, right? Yes, okay. We'll fill these enormous holes with solder. Of course, this one is, again, on the ground plane. These big holes are really hard to solder when they're on the ground plane, even with my soldering iron temperature turned way up. Alright, so we'll clip that off, and then we'll clip that off, and we only have one more thing to solder into place, and that's going to be the little mini USB port here, which is going to clip into the back of the board here. Ooh, that's going to be a bit of a tight fit. This is going to take some work to get in there, so what I'm actually going to do is just another quick jump cut. BRB. I'm back. That was really hard to get in there, so you'll probably need some needle nose pliers and a little bit of patience if you build this kit, but we're good. Now we're just gonna do the support legs first. I guess these are also technically ground, but Then we'll just quickly solder in the other pins, although I don't think we need the data pins. We probably just need the power pins, but I'll go ahead and do them all. There we go. Nice. Alright, now we'll trim that up carefully. I guess the other pins don't really need to be trimmed. Okay, so that's all of the soldering for this kit. So let's go ahead and throw these chips in. Make sure the pins are all nice and aligned, and then a little trick that I learned from Julian Eilert. You take and sort of bend the pins inwards a little bit there on the big chips. These ones are pretty challenging to place, especially on these this style of socket. If it's the machined pin sockets are much easier to do this with, but just make sure all the pins are actually going into the socket and not going to fold up underneath, and then very carefully apply pressure until the IC is properly in the socket. And there we go. There's that one done. And then this one should be a little bit easier. We'll still flex the pins inward a little bit, because they're always a little bit spread out. They probably do that for ease of soldering the pins in, but when you're using a socket, the pins don't line up nicely. There we go. So there's the brain. That's probably running most of the ancillary functions. This chip is actually the clock chip. That's what actually drives the clock circuit. And I guess these are meant to go here. Can't think of any other place these would go, so we'll just put these little plastic standoffs on here, like so. See, these corner pieces are actually meant to be broken off by the looks of it, because they're all perforated and break-offable, but there's no other means of mounting, so I'm not too sure why that's set up like that. No matter. We'll just screw these down. Do I have a... No, I don't. It's not going to be big enough. Alright. So we'll just quickly use these nylon nuts. And get these standoffs into position, like so. Two more. Hey, that's so much more efficient than the way I was doing it. Alright. And the other one. So rather than spin the nut, spin the post. It's much easier. There we go. That actually looks pretty good. Alright, so let's slap the clock battery in there. And if we plug this in now, it should power up. Alright, so I'll unplug that I was plugging in earlier. Plug that in there. And then we'll plug this in here. And And absolutely nothing happens. Oh, right. Well, I'll have to do some troubleshooting and get back to you guys. Alright, so some brief troubleshooting later. Oh wow, the multiplexing on that is really bad. That shimmer doesn't show, in real life, but that's just the frame rate of the camera being incompatible with the multiplexing on the display. But anyway, as you can see, it displays the time in 24-hour mode, which I think is interesting. Then it gives you the temperature, which is 27°, because I've been holding it, so it's quite warm. And then it gives the year, and then the date, and then the time. So that's pretty cool. And there's a couple of different modes for these LEDs around the outside. I thought they were supposed to display the current hour and minute and second by filling up, but it doesn't look like that function actually exists, despite what it said on the description on the listing. But you can change it so that instead of just counting around, it empties it out every 60 seconds, so when it reaches all the way to the top here, it will reset full and then start it will fill back up, rather. Okay, I'm not too sure how this mode works. Then it's got this one, which is just the lone LED crawling around the outside. And then this one, which is all of them on with one off going through. And then this one, which has sort of a neat little slidey sort of effect there. The next one I think is just random little blinky bits. The next one is this kind of cool thing where it fills down both sides down to the bottom, and then that light stays on, and then it does the whole thing again all the way until it's full. Then it's got this one, which is actually pretty cool on camera. That's pretty neat. Then this one, which is kind of a quicker version of the other one that just kind of does little sweepy pattern things like so. And then this one, which is also pretty cool on camera, but just a sort of different variation of the one before. And then back to the original one, which I could have sworn this one was supposed to display the time, but maybe that's a function I haven't figured out yet, because there's a bunch of different menu options and stuff that I haven't quite gone through. But I'll probably do a bonus video where I show how to program and set the clock. Anyway, so that is the LED clock thing project. So thanks so much for joining me. If you haven't already, consider clicking here to subscribe. Over here will be a video that YouTube thinks you'll find interesting based on your watch habits. Right here is the LED clock thing playlist, and right here is a link to Patreon, which you can use to help me buy more stuff like this. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.